My fingers dug into the edge of the table, knuckles white, as I leaned in. All I ask is for a chance to prove myself, and you won't fucking let me. Mind your language, Miles Astor, Coach Daniel snapped, his gaze flicking up briefly. The words were cold, indifferent. Like I was some kid throwing a tantrum. Outside the office, cheers roared from the party in full swing. Each burst of laughter and clinking glass grated against me, a reminder that while my life was falling apart, everyone else was having the time of theirs. They were celebrating him, Tristan Medici, the golden boy with the golden ticket, stepping right into my spot, my fucking spot, on the team. My chest tightened. I wasn't breathing. Please. My voice cracked, more fragile than I wanted it to be. I hated myself for it. I took a step closer to his desk, my hand resting on the edge for support. At least let me play the next match. The next match meant everything. NHL scouts would be there, watching, evaluating. It was the one chance I had left, the only way to claw my future out of this mess. Without it, I was nothing. Coach Daniel sighed, his lips pressed into a thin line as he stood. He looked tired, like I was a burden he'd just shed. I'm sorry, Miles. There's nothing I can do. Leave my office. It felt like the floor gave way beneath me. I stumbled back, my heartbeat loud in my ears, drowning out the frat party's noise. How was this happening? What had I done to deserve this? I stared at the door, but all I saw was Medici's smug, faceless image burning into my mind. It wasn't just the transfer, it was everything, his rich dad, his privileged life. He didn't need this the way I did. And yet, he was stealing it from me. My fists clenched so hard they hurt. Fuck him. Fuck all of them, Miles. Miles, wait up. I blinked, realizing I was already halfway down the hall. Leo and Jade caught up to me, both breathless, their eyes full of worry. He said no, I muttered. My voice sounded like someone else's, hollow and far away. I turned away from them, stumbling toward the party. I needed noise. I needed distraction. I needed something to keep me from falling apart. Damn, man, Leo muttered, pulling out a chair and forcing me into it. That's messed up. Before I could say anything, Jade shoved a tumbler of booze into my hand. Here, she said, her voice soft, as if she were afraid of what I might do next. Drink. It'll help. I stared at the liquid for a moment, the dim light from the party casting weird reflections in it. This was supposed to be my break. The next match, my escape route, the thing that would save my mom from her hellish life. And now, it was gone. Because of a guy I'd never even met. I downed the drink in one gulp, feeling the burn all the way down. Jade refilled the tumbler, biting her lip as she watched me with those wide eyes, like she was afraid I might shatter. Well, look what the cat dragged in. The voice slithered into my ear before I could react. George Henderson, the team captain, towered over me. His eyes glittered with satisfaction. His hand clamped down on my shoulder, the grip firm enough to send a sharp twinge up my neck. I heard Coach finally figured out you're not even fit to see a puck, Astor. His breath was warm, sour with alcohol, and too close. I gritted my teeth, swallowing the scream that threatened to rip out of me. My hand gripped the tumbler so tightly I was afraid it might shatter too. Not that it mattered. I had nothing left to break. Tomorrow, George continued, his voice low and venomous, the names on the list go to the NHL. Guess who won't be on it? Laughter bubbled up from his goons behind him. They were always there, like a second shadow ready to back him up, no matter what. Okay, I muttered, raising my glass half-heartedly, too numb to do anything else. I was drowning, and the glass was my only lifeline. That was when George slapped the tumbler out of my hand. It shattered into 1,000 pieces, glass raining down like glitter on the floor. The room fell silent. All eyes were on us now. Get out, George growled. You don't belong here anymore. Each word sliced through me, the final nail in the coffin. This was it. The end of everything I had worked for, every sacrifice I had made. I was spiraling, and there was no way out. Leave him alone. Jade's voice broke the tension, her small frame stepping between me and George. She didn't care that he was a foot taller and twice her size. He didn't do anything wrong. George chuckled darkly, his gaze sweeping over her like she was insignificant. What did you say? Before she could dig herself deeper into danger, I shot to my feet. I'm going. Leave her alone. My words were quiet, but it was the weight behind them. I turned and walked out, the room spinning with each step. The cold air of the locker room hit my face like a slap, and I stopped, breathing hard. Then George's words echoed again. Guess who won't be on that list? My fists clenched. I could make sure my name was there. I could fix this. It was either the liquor or sheer desperation, but suddenly I was moving again, my feet carrying me back to Coach's office. The door creaked as I slipped inside, heart pounding. My hands were shaking as I reached for the drawer. I knew this was wrong. Expulsion was a real possibility. But what did it matter now? I yanked open the drawer, and there it was, the list. My breath hitched. My eyes scanned the names, and then I saw it, Tristan Medici. My life's ruin in one neat little line, and next to him, George Henderson. A bitter laugh escaped my throat. Of course. Of fucking course. I grabbed the correction fluid, my hand trembling as I crossed out both names, pressing down so hard I nearly tore the paper. Then, in big, bold letters, I wrote my name over both of theirs. I leaned back, smiling in bitter satisfaction. How's that, Medici? The door clicked behind me. My blood froze. A figure stepped into the room, a silhouette in the dim light. He paused, then spoke in a low, amused voice. Not exactly your best move. I crumpled the list in my hand. Shit. The shrill sound of my alarm clock wasn't what jolted me awake. It was the yelling. My stepfather's voice cutting through the walls. I stared up at the ceiling, straining to hear my mom's voice fighting back, but it never came. It never will. If this was toast, the whole of America would be fucking dead. His voice boomed again. I sighed, sitting up in bed. Pain shot from my hips and, lower down, a raw reminder of last night. It wasn't a dream. It happened, changing the list? The phone camera clicked. You little devil. Listen, it's not what you think, I had said, heart pounding. Oh, I know exactly what I think. His voice dripped with amusement. Shit, but I'll keep my mouth shut, he whispered, stepping closer, if you fuck me. I shook my head, the memories flooding back with nauseating clarity. The worst part was I didn't even know who he was. Yet, I had agreed. Miles? My mom's voice, soft and hesitant, floated through the door. You're late for school, you know? Before I could answer, his voice cut in. Treating that boy like a fucking baby again? You never listen, do you, woman? I bit my tongue to stop the retort burning in my chest and instead called out, I'll be out in a minute. In the bathroom, I stared blankly at the wall, my mind running a million thoughts per second. What the hell was I thinking last night? No, the real question, who was that guy? He couldn't have been a student with that massive tattoo and those scars on his back. And no way he was a teacher, not with the way he talked. Christ, you're so tight. Ugh. The red, scaly tattoo on his back as he walked out of the hotel door flashed in my mind. My stomach twisted. He had to be a visitor, someone passing through. I'd probably never see him again. That thought made me feel a little better. By the time I left my room, I was calm enough to kiss my mom on the cheek. What about breakfast? She asked, her eyes wide, the bruises around them barely hidden under her makeup. I made pancakes. Your favorite. I'm good, I muttered, watching her face fall. Guilt gnawed at me, so I kissed her forehead. I'll eat when I get back. She nodded, but before the moment could settle, his gruff voice filled the kitchen again, ruining everything. Isn't it nice to have the luxury of choosing when to eat? Must be, when you don't have to earn the damn food. It wasn't his money. My fists clenched, the words ready to explode out of me, but my mom squeezed my palm. Miles, just go to school, okay? I sighed, grabbed my bag, and turned to the door. Standing up to him was pointless. And she'd never leave. Hey, he called after me as I reached the door. Why do you walk funny? Tripped down the stairs, I muttered, slamming the door behind me. Damn it. If he noticed, others would too. I couldn't miss school though. I needed to know if Coach had discovered the missing list. I really shouldn't have chewed it up like some desperate idiot. What the hell was I thinking? Was going to school the right move? I sighed. Anywhere was better than home. I arrived 20 minutes late, and the moment I saw the students gathered in hushed circles, I felt my stomach drop. The atmosphere was thick, electric with tension. Everyone was staring toward Coach Daniel's office. I was so fucked. I pulled my hoodie up, ready to slip out unnoticed, but two hands grabbed my arm. Son of a gun, where did you go last night? Leo demanded. Jade went to grab her bag, and poof, you vanished. Before I could respond, Jade yanked my hoodie down, her face red with frustration. I'm too young for a heart attack, you absolute idiot. She started pounding her tiny fists against my shoulder. Crazy, fine-ass hunky bitch. Ouch, I muttered, rubbing my shoulder. I glanced toward the crowd of whispering students. They were still staring at Coach's office, eyes wide with anticipation. Whatever had happened, it wasn't just about a missing list. Jade cleared her throat, her voice hushed. Tristan Medici's in Coach's office. The whole school's losing its mind. Of course, he was. My body tensed, anger simmering just below the surface. The golden boy had arrived. Big fucking deal, you know, Leo said casually, you could join the figure skating club. It's almost the same as hockey, just with more sequins. Jade shot him a glare. Leo, you're so dumb. She turned to me, eyes wide. Miles is stiffer than a tree trunk. He could learn. You can't teach an old chicken new tricks. I raised an eyebrow. Chicken? She shrugged, grinning. Would you rather I call you a dog? Before I could answer, loud cheers erupted near the entrance. All heads turned, including mine, toward the boy walking beside Coach Daniel. Tristan Medici. The school's newest obsession. Oh my god, Jade breathed. Guess this is the part where I tell myself I'm not bi. Leo chuckled. I said nothing. My eyes, like everyone else's, were locked on him. Tristan, with his perfect hair and stupid grin. He looked like he belonged on a magazine cover, not a hockey team. Everything about him screamed privilege. He's so hot, someone nearby whispered. I want to have his babies. Another girl giggled. Yeah, great. He was perfect. Whatever, he looked like someone had carved him using God as his model. That raven dark hair, the light gray eyes that reveal nothing except the stupid sly grin, and that body hidden beneath the joggers and cardigan, smiled at whatever Coach Daniel was saying, and everyone swooned. I grimaced. What the hell was wrong with all of them? He wasn't even all that. Oh my god, look at that smile, Jade sighed. I'd let him bang me, Leo said, dead serious. Jade and I turned to him. What? Look at him. Leo defended himself, motioning toward Tristan. You can't blame me. I rolled my eyes. My friends were useless. But why did it feel like Tristan was searching for someone in the crowd? His eyes swept over the students, scanning, looking for his next girlfriend, no doubt. Natalie, probably. Sorority queen and prom princess. George would be dumped in a week. Maybe something good would come out of all this. After all, another boy, a redhead, grabs Tristan's hand and pulls him toward the opposite direction while Tristan laughs. Of course, if I had no worries in the world, and everyone crushed on me, I'd laugh that hard, too, fucking rich brat. Speaking of which, Miles, Leo took his gaze off the leaving Tristan. Where did you go yesterday? I had thought of a lie. I walked home. I was ready to spit it out from my throat when Coach Daniel's voice hit me out of the blue. Aster. He glared as he walked past me. Get your ass to my office right this moment. I swallowed. Yes, Miles, what's the answer? I blinked, yanked out of my trance by the teacher's voice. The whole class turned toward me, eyes wide, some barely stifling laughter. I stood up, trying to shake the fog from my mind. Sir, could you repeat the question? Repeat the question? He raised an eyebrow. Caught you smiling. Figured you knew the answer. If only class made me smile that much. But no, my smile was all because of the little chat I had with Coach Daniel earlier. I had a nap and realized I wasn't fair to you. There's a way to get you back on the team, but it'll cost you your dignity. That dignity translated into being the water boy during training, just so I could hold on to a sliver of a chance of rejoining the team. It was humiliating, but at least it was something. Sir, I have no idea. The answer is cell, a soft voice offered from behind. The smallest unit of life. Natalie. My brows furrowed as I turned to see her offering a small, sympathetic smile. I nodded in thanks, the teacher's eyes narrowed. Get your biology textbook out and focus, Aster. Yes, sir. Oh my God, what is that? How did he get that amount? The scattered dollar notes dropping out of my bag laid on the table. My heart pounded in my chest as I mentally calculated how many wads that could be arranged in. How did it get in my bag? I swallowed, raising my head to meet Jade's own widened eyes. Had at least 10,000 in my bag and had no clue how it got there. Holy shit, my heart thumped. Miles. The teacher glared down at the notes. Follow me to my office, now. I began to shove the notes in. Asterisk. He took the bag from me, said he was going to inquire if that amount was missing from anyone in the school. I say to Jade, the cooler of water hanging from my shoulders, watching the players in the rink. Then he might go to the police. It was making rounds in the school, everyone with their own tale of how a scholarship student had 10,000 in his bag. Christ, I could have checked before I left. But I was already running late, it never crossed my mind. I can't say I believe you not knowing how the money got in your bag, Jade said, arranging the strap of the cooler. I'm just saying, what will you do with the money if it's given back to you? I stayed quiet, she continued, so there's this little weed business. Christ, Jade, what? She demanded. I don't care if the money isn't from a good source. Just make sure you multiply that dough. I laughed, shaking my head. Thanks for being here. You and Leo, I don't know what I'd do without you guys. As if on cue, from the far end of the rink, Leo waved while handing a player a bottle of water. PSSH, shove it back in. I'll do anything to have a share of that bill. Just kidding, just kidding. Her pressed lips told me she was absolutely not kidding. Hey, one of the players called, water. And she ran off, and immediately after, he entered. The rink burst into a round of applause as he caught the stick thrown at him. Why little laughter died, the money temporarily forgotten as rage took over. It wasn't my jersey he wore, it was a new one, tailored to perfection. Of course, he wouldn't wear something as common as a team jersey. I'd bet his father bought him his spot on the team. Yes, he was good in the last match, which was the first Blizzard Breakers had won against the Whales. It could just be luck, no one rich could be that good. Not when they knew they could just buy their way in 20 minutes into training. I scratched my prior thoughts. Okay, he was good asterisk more than good asterisk you mean, my brain taunted, still, it wasn't fair. And I was going to give 1,000 water bottles just to get my position back, asterisk fucker, asterisk and just then, coach blew the whistle for halftime. Which meant, get the water flowing. From the corner of my eyes, I could see Jade and Leo walking toward the thirsty teams. Sighing, I made my way toward them, trying to dodge George, but of course, it was futile. Hey, water boy. He waved his hand, and when I turned, he raised a brow. What part of we are thirsty don't you understand? My gaze dropped to the unopened bottle of water beside him, and back to his face, and his smirk widened. Taking another deep breath and hoping whatever coach had in mind worked, I made my way to him, grabbing a bottle of water, handed him the water, saying nothing. "Whoa," he chuckled, looking around him as if hoping people were watching. Of course, they were. "Why so mad?" I stayed quiet. "Answer the question, Miles. Why so mad?" "I'm not mad." It came out as a snap. I blinked back my anger. "I'm not mad. Just take your water." He pouted, staring down at the water. "Not mad? Then beg me to take it." There were chuckles, and also, "Dude, what's your problem? Let him be." Leo stepped between us, handing George a bottled water. "Here, please take it." George seemed amused. "I don't want the plea from this bitch." He looked at me again. "I want it from this bitch." "Well, then, fuck this." I dropped the flask on the rink and began to walk away. I was fucked anyway, nothing I'd do would matter. Murmurs of surprise filled the air, which soon turned to roars. I hadn't taken more than 5 steps when I was yanked back by my hair and held. Unable to move, George appeared before me, laughing and shaking his head in disbelief as he unscrewed a bottle. "Too big to beg? Wow, such fucking audacity, huh? I just wanna leave." "Well, you'll leave, alright." The water came down on my head, drenching my hair and streaming across my face. "When I say beg," he flung the empty bottle back, "you fucking beg." The water blurred my sight, but instead of the rage that led to tears back in junior high, I just felt empty. "All right then," I muttered, trying to wriggle myself free from his crew's hold. "If you'll just let me go now." Once again, his gaze darkened, and soon a folded fist came down hard on my stomach, sending pain and the rage I thought was non-existent into me. Hearing them laugh made it boil. So without thinking of the repercussions, I punched back, hard, hitting the side of his neck. Seeing him double over in pain sent a thrill running through me. Holy shit, I did that. I just fucking did that. Now to get the fuck out of this place before I was handled like a bitch. I turned around in a flash, only to knock into another frame, and he grabbed my hand. But adrenaline still rushing, I punched hard again, my fist landing on a chin made of iron. Pain shot into my knuckles, and I clutched my throbbing wrist, raising my face up to stare into angry gray eyes. I froze. It wasn't George. It wasn't one of his lackeys. Oh shit, it was him, Tristan Medici. My chest tightened. I'd just punched Tristan Medici, fuck. I dropped my gaze to my still throbbing fingers, feeling Coach's eyes on my face. It was the day after the brawl at the rink, and I hadn't even fully entered the school gate before Coach's voice came over the speakers, demanding to see me in his office. "We had a deal, Miles." "What were you thinking?" I had no clue, but I knew what I thought after it all happened: run. And I did, taking my bag and the strange money home after the biology teacher discovered no one else's was missing. Things to worry about just kept multiplying. Now Coach stood up straight. "All you had to do was lay low." Which I did. That wasn't laying low, Miles. He fucking came at me. When Coach said nothing, I quickly toned down my voice. "I know you're trying to help, but goddammit, it gets hard when you're punched in the midsection." Coach sighed and sat down. "I understand." He gestured for me to sit down too, but I didn't. "That's why I said it's going to be hard. George doesn't want you there. I don't know why he wants to make your life a living hell, but you can't handle it by punching him back." I thought sacrificing my dignity was going to be so easy, but it turned out it wasn't, not in the least. "Lucky for you, George decided he doesn't want you punished." He paused as if unsure how to relay the next part. "And Tristan wants an apology." My brows knit. What the fuck was he talking about? I wasn't going to do that. He was the reason I was in this shit. He took my position, but minutes later, I found myself walking toward the team bathroom where Coach said Tristan was. Was I really doing this? Reaching the door, I pulled my hoodie up and reached for the knob. It was just an apology. I didn't have to mean a word of it. I pushed open the door and walked in just as a locker clicked closed. I froze at the center of the bathroom, steps away from me was a back turned toward me, with the largest and undeniably the most beautiful tattoo I had ever seen. The T was in the shape of a cobra, with gleaming scales that ran up to his upper back and shoulders. Tattoos weren't allowed here. Had the school seen this? Or did they not care when he was the heir? Why are you here? His deep baritone knocked me out of my trance. Why did it sound familiar? I stood straight, trying not to stare as he put on a black shirt, covering the tattoo completely. He turned to me. I don't like repeating myself. I grit my teeth. Just say the apology and never cross paths with him again. I came to apologize for hitting you. My eyes spotted the slight red bruise at the side of his mouth, and my heart did a happy dance. It was a fight or flight situation. He said nothing, continuing to look at me as if I hadn't spoken. Then his gaze dropped to my bagged coach, said he wanted an apology. So why was I being stared at that way? Finally, he spoke. Are you apologizing or making excuses? My fingers clenched into fists. Perhaps if you hadn't grabbed my hand, your face would still be intact. Try not to creep up on people next time. He chuckled. You hate me. You wish you were that important. You think I took your position. Quietly, he shut the locker and stepped even closer. You fail to realize that maybe if you were just a bit as good as you? I leaned in closer, strangling the thought that, up close, he was even more majestic. What's that? Daddy's money stroking your delusion? I thought I saw him flinch, but it disappeared quickly, and he chuckled again, turning back to the locker to insert the key. I accept your apology, he said. Just don't be quick with your hands next time. He took out the key and winked. I know how to hurt people without Daddy's money. He was sly, I realized, maybe even dangerous. I began to backtrack, turning toward the door, ready to get the hell out of his sight. Just as my fingers touched the knob, his voice echoed. Hey, Miles. I stopped in my tracks, waiting. Did you get your money back? He asked. I clutched the strap of my bag like the money was still in it instead of buried in the newly dug hole beneath my bed. The story must have really made the rounds for him to hear about it. Yeah, I answered. After a pause, I quickly added, I'll be taking it to the police. That was a lie. But no way would he know, he sighed. Now, why would you do that? I could hear the slyness in his voice. After all, you worked really hard for it. Silence, longer silence, then my breath caught in my throat. It was as though I had been bathed in ice, my soul leaving my body as I turned around. The prior amusement had vanished. His gray eyes had become blank, staring at me under lazy lashes as if he had expected me to know he was the one that night. It couldn't be. The back tattoo flashed before my tired gaze as he walked out of the room. The familiarity of his voice, not exactly your best move. I feel my stomach churn, unable to reach for my rage. Immediately the door behind me clicked open, with head lowered. I dashed out of the bathroom, ***** the rest of the day. I spent in an empty stall behind the school, my back pressed against the wall, staring wide-eyed and breathless at the ceiling as the memories slammed into me, buried my fingers into my hair, yanking hard as I cursed at myself. Anybody but him. Any other darn person. But him. Time and again, my phone beeped signaling messages from my socials. I don't have to look to know it's Jade, and every second that I don't reply was an hour of berating. Shit. I whispered in the dimness of the room, my heartbeat quickening. How was I to ever face him? Most of all, how was he in the party that night? None of this was making sense. I pinched myself. It was no dream. The phone beeps again, and groaning out loud, I yanked it out of my bag, and just like I predicted, Jade's name blared bright. But just before I can tap her unread message, there's another beep. And a message that isn't hers appeared on the screen. We need to talk, it read. The picture on the DP of a frame sitting lazily on a gym bench is unmistakably his. Tristan shit. My hands tightened around the phone. How did he get my number? What did he want to talk about? Another beep. I'll be at the cafeteria in 2 hours. First of all, the audacity of the son of a bitch. Secondly, I began to type, there's nothing to talk about. Forget anything ever happened that night. I'll bring your money to you on Monday. Immediately it sends. He begins to type again, then stops, then typing. I wait, sweat streaking into my shirt. The money, 10,000. It would have done a lot, but I had to protect the remaining dignity I had left. A beep shatters the silence. I look into the screen, another message. The money is yours, you worked for it. Stop saying that shit. I typed and sent furiously. There's silence, no floating icon, just me glaring at the screen and hating my life. It was the way he made me lose control with just words. I never hated anyone, not even George as much as I hated him. Yet when there's another beep, I'm rushing for the phone, and on the screen are two simple sentences that leave me struck. I have an offer for you. I want another night. Tristan, my phone buzzed. One new message, asterisk you're sick. Use that money to get your head checked. Asterisk and right below it, asterisk this person is not contactable. Asterisk I pinched the bridge of my nose, holding back a chuckle as the coach stood in front of me. There was something about the brown-haired rascal that amused me, something I hadn't quite figured out yet. Maybe it was the way he overflowed with emotion, asterisk you hate emotions. Asterisk maybe. But they suited him, better than those coffee brown eyes or the slight athletic physique hidden beneath oversized hoodies, asterisk he hates you. Asterisk why should I care? At first, all I felt was guilt. The morning after, when I placed a hand on his shoulder and he flinched, I realized, his first time. And I hadn't even noticed. It was no coincidence he was the first I laid my eyes on when I walked into the school that evening. The brunette surrounded by friends and staring at the wall habits died hard, so once again, like the life I kept a secret from everyone else, I was stalking. What the hell had I been thinking? Nothing, really. Just the urge to let off steam. Seeing him there. Damn, I barely remembered anything, except his moans. My grunts. The feel of him and that scent that could knock one faster than an overdosed cocaine. To ease the guilt, I shoved cash into his bag, feeling his eyes on my back as I walked out of that hotel room, hoping I'd never see him again, but that was history. Tristan, Coach Daniel called. I nodded and slid into the rink, gripping the stick. My mind should have been on the ice, but I kept scanning the crowd, hoping to spot him. No sign of him. Just his friends, calling him again and again, groaning when he didn't pick up. I stifled a laugh. He'll come around. They always do. The real question was, how long? Focus, the coach yelled as I sent George crashing onto the ice. You're the captain, Henderson. George muttered something as he brushed past me, flipping off the crowd. Their cheers filled the rink as I knocked the puck into the goalpost, but even that wasn't enough to snap me out of it. I circled the rink, the ice smooth beneath me, cold air sharpening my focus, but my mind kept drifting back to him. By the end of practice, as the crowd thinned out, I spotted Eros waving my phone from the stands. I glided over, feeling George's glare burn into my back. You've got a new message, Eros said as I snatched the phone. It's your uncle. Disappointment hit me harder than I expected. For a moment, I'd thought it would be him. I pocketed the phone. What the hell is wrong with me? Eros' brows furrowed, his hazel pupils flicking from my pocket back to my face. That's the first time you haven't been excited about a message from your uncle. Realization dawned. It's about that boy, isn't it? Eros, my closest person next to my uncle, always knew too much, you know, I cut in, glancing around. You're getting too nosy. I should be, he snapped. Or have you forgotten why we got kicked out of Aspen Grove High? Hey. I laughed, ruffling his ginger hair. I've got this under control. When you say that, it makes me want to shit my pants. This time, I really do. Bastard, you're not helping. He huffed. Oh, and in case you never read the message, your uncle wants you to stop by this weekend. Your mother shouldn't know. She never did. My phone buzzed again. As Eros walked off, I fished it out, grimacing when it was just a random message. How long was this kid going to take? No one ever took this long. Something told me I should have been ready to get my money back by Monday, but I pushed the thought away. That never happened. At the edge of the rink, I noticed that curly-haired emo girl, the one always with Miles, yelling into her phone, "Call me back, you son of a bitch. I'm worried about you." Leo, struggling with 2 heavy bags, looked just as worried. No answer. I left the rink. By the next day, Saturday, while I lazily hit a puck against a tree, I was still blocked. I loved a challenge, especially one I knew I'd win. Too bad he caught my interest. By evening, my phone buzzed again. 30 minutes later, as I scrolled through the endless messages, his finally popped up. A smirk crept across my lips as I opened it. Hey, I was wondering. Is your offer still up? I sighed, dropping the phone face down, and staring up at the ceiling. What are the odds of always being right? So much for wasting my time. Miles. I gripped the marble sink, glaring at my reflection. The image of his smug smile wouldn't leave my head. He'd looked at me like I was some kind of snack. Snack. Was that the best I could come up with? Christ, Miles. What the hell have you done? I staggered back until I hit the wall, sliding down to the floor. Never in a million years would I have guessed he was the one. Now that I knew, and had a clue where the money came from, there was only one option left: leave the country. I clutched my hair, frustration boiling inside. But that wasn't possible. The next choice? Return the money and tell the bastard to back off, but I wasn't sure I was ready to face him yet. A soft knock pulled me from my thoughts, followed by my mum's voice. "Miles, are you sure you're okay? You've been acting strange." I raised my head, catching my pale reflection again. "Yeah. I'll be out in a minute," I called back, the words sounding distant even to me. There was a long silence before she whispered, "Okay, Bibi." I waited for her footsteps, but there was nothing. She'd always been a quiet walker, scaring the hell out of me as a kid when she'd suddenly appear in the dim living room, petite and motionless, her dark hair cascading down her back, hair as dark as his. My breath hitched as the memory brushed my mind. Strong hand gripping my hair, yanking my head down as he growled against my ear, "Loosen up for me." I flung my jacket at the mirror. Christ, get out of my head. Another knock came, soft but insistent. "Carino, sabes que puedes contarme cualquier cosa, verdad? Honey, you know you can tell me anything, right?" Except I couldn't tell her about this one. It had to die with me, just like his damn offer would end with him. I rose to my feet, straightened my shirt, cleared my throat, and walked to the door, opening it quietly. I fixed a smile on my face, but on the other side, it was empty and quiet. It seemed she was gone, which was weird. Mum never left until she got an answer. I stepped into my room, my gaze dropping to the bed, my thoughts running back to the money. The worst thing I could ever do was not give it back. It would be like chasing a storm. "Hey, back off. What do you think you're doing?" My stepfather's voice echoed into my room. 4 more angry voices joined in, and with knitted brows, I narrowed my gaze to the window. "I warned you, Diego, 1 more week without my rent, and I'm kicking you out." That sounded like our landlord, the old guy with the long white beard who seemed like he'd stepped out of Hogwarts. "Diego, get your family out of my house." That was weird, I thought as I jogged out of my room toward the exit, where my mother stood. The landlord had always liked Mum because she paid for a whole year. Was there a reason he was being so mean? Why were we getting kicked out? Nearing the exit, my mum turned to me, and the blood drained from her face. No, she shook her head, reaching out to stop me. "Go back inside, Miles. I'll sort this out." I slid past her hands, and immediately I was standing before the group of men, my stepfather already wielding a gun, daring anyone unfortunate enough to walk in. The old man, our landlord, stood behind 4 men, his thin lips pressed in annoyance as he glared at Diego. Then, quietly, he shook his head and reached for his pocket. "I can't deal with this any longer. Voy a llamar a la policía. I'm calling the police." "You'll do nothing of the sort," Diego spat, waving the gun. "Everyone knows this house was stacked with dirty money." "Shut up, man," one of the goons groaned. I shared in his frustration. I didn't want to be here either. The chaos had invited a small audience, mostly of little kids. What's going on here? My uncertain voice was like a thin thread trying to make its way through a ball of chasm. The landlord looked at me, then behind me, and his face softened. Son, get your mother out of here. I don't want her hurt. He meant it. I turned to my mother, and seeing her shrink into herself, I figured she knew what was wrong, and somehow, it was her fault. What's going on? But instead of answering, she dropped her gaze to the floor, rubbing her arm like she was being interrogated. She did this all the time, keeping me in the dark about everything. 2 years' rent, son, the landlord answered behind me. I turned to him, watching him dial and place the phone to his ear. I haven't received a penny for 2 years, and I've had enough. I staggered back. 2 years? Holy fuck, how the hell could we have gone 2 years without paying rent? I'd seen Mom hustling, scraping by, making sure we had food on the table. She'd always been so careful. Where did the money go? Mum? I whispered. Mum, what's going on? Oh, please, Diego snarled, walking over to stand beside my mother and placing his hand across her shoulder. Don't fucking use that tone on her. You don't know how hard she toils for you. Mum's jaw clenched, and she narrowed her gaze, avoiding mine. Something twisted in my stomach, and it dawned on me, she gave it to him. She gave the rent to him, not the first time she'd done something like this. I'm sorry, son, the landlord said as the phone began to beep. But I've got a retirement to plan for too. Right before my eyes, he gestured to the entrance and to the men, ordering, get it all out. Diego clicked off the safety on the gun. I fucking dare you. It was all happening too fast. I watched on, feeling the weight pressing down on me and, most of all, the urge to throw up at the realization of what I was thinking. * use his money star. But. I couldn't. I knew what that meant. There was a sharp ache in my head. I shut my eyes. Touching that money was the same as holding a live grenade and praying it didn't explode on me, but... Mum, the house, 2 years' rent. Approximately 9 grand. My stomach twisted. I felt like I was drowning. What to do? But just as 2 of them stepped onto the terrace and the others wrestled with Diego for the gun, I found myself blurting, wait. I have the money. And as 8 pairs of eyes turned on me, I felt my world shatter into a million tiny pieces.